the panelists can answer them directly. If not, I'll also be checking the chat in Hoover as well if there are any questions. So yeah, Matt, did you want to introduce the panelists?
Sure. Well, first of all, welcome everybody. Happy Valentine's Day to everyone out there. So I think we're going to have a great session today. I have some very smart people on the line here with us today. So make sure you get your questions posted. Let's keep these guys, we want to pick their brain today. So let's get questions posted as much as you can. And we're going to talk about drones here for the next hour. So we'll get rolling. I'll get everybody introduced here. First of all, my name is Matt Ernst. I am a career tech teacher at Taft Information Technology High School, teaching computers and technology at Taft. I have also been the advisor to the Taft Drone Club for the last 4 years. So we've been flying drones, trying to get guys their and girls their drone pilot licenses when they're eligible to do that. I'm also running a drone entrepreneur course at the moment after school. We're doing that all virtually, of course, in this weird time that we're having this year. And it's going quite well. I've got 8 students in that course. And hopefully by about August, September, we'll have some young people with their drone licenses. So I've got a couple of seniors. I got one that's in construction management at another high school across the district. I got another one who wants to get into technology, not quite sure. So I got a wide range of students in this course, and really excited to get these guys their drone pilot licenses. And of course, we haven't had any time to fly. We've been doing drone club meetings virtually. So that's the way it is this year. All right, so first off, let's see, we're gonna start with Danielle. And Danielle is she's one of the editors from UAVSI. They do all the commercial drone information. And Danielle is here to give us all the insights with what's going on with commercial drones, all kinds of industries, how drones are being across every type of use out there. So she sees that, and her job is to put that information out there. I think, was it a monthly newsletter that you guys put out, Danielle?
Commercial UAV News puts out a weekly newsletter as well as a monthly one for European news.
Yeah. So she's involved with all the news out there with drones. Then next we have Meghan Salter. She is a teacher of the year from the state of West Virginia, and she uses drones in her classroom. It is so awesome what she's doing with very young people using drones in the classroom. And she's pretty much excited about drones as much as I am. and how we get people involved with drones. It's just, I just can't say enough with everybody that I have here today. So, and then our very special guest from across the globe. So first, let's see, Leo. He is the Chief Operating Officer for, is it FutureSight? Is that how you pronounce it? It is a drone company in Brazil, and they have their own drone business, do lots of things for other companies with drones, training other people to use drones. So they are exploding the South American and Brazil markets down there. So congratulations, you guys freaking knocking it out of the park down there. So, and then we have our Woman of the Year, 2020 Woman of the Year from the drone industry in Brazil. South America, Raquel Molina, and that is our panel for today. And I don't know, do we got any questions already? I know I put a couple in there already. So Jenna, maybe if you want to knock, let's start with some of those and we'll see if somebody, we get some more questions into the chat.
Sure, okay. So I'll read the first one. To Danielle, Raquel, and Leo, as ambassadors of the drone industry, how do we increase the drone usage in corporate and business worlds?
So what I'm kind of asking there is, I've seen a lot of stuff come through saying a lot of businesses, corporate partners are 20–30%, they're using drones in their business. And how do we get that up? I mean, how do we get businesses and corporate partners to use drones more?
Can I start?
Sure, go ahead, Raquel.
Okay. I think the best way to improve the drone, the use of the drones in companies, I think it's showing more their benefits, showing cases and how can we do better than they do, like in the traditional way, and showing numbers and showing good case about in some areas, and showing that they can help a lot the companies to have more competitivity and to have more economy, reducing costs, and all other benefits that they can have.
Okay.
Yeah, what I can say about that is sometimes our students come to us and ask, how do I approach an industry or any kind of sector in the economy to try to make them use drones? And what we usually suggest is that they offer something at the beginning for free, or at least for a minimum price, so they can show the potential that the drones have. And after that, I think the customers will never give up about using drones, because the kind of economy, the benefits about acquiring data or improving the safety of their business, it's huge. So there are many ways to introduce drones to them and to make it a common use. So what you can do is, as Raquel said, is show them all the benefits, and they will never stop using it.
Okay, Danielle.
I 100% agree with what Leo and Raquel just said. You know, demonstrating the benefits, especially being able to see what those benefits are, is a huge enabler to this industry. It generally, when you get a drone in your hands, you're going to, once you get it into that business, you're going to start seeing new use cases come up. They're like, well, I have this drone, I can fly it over here, I can do this roof inspection, I can see what other things I can do with this drone. Some of those other things, like, you know, really growing the industry, there are a couple other things we want to keep under consideration, and that's the regulations that we currently have in place. They're still developing, so businesses are hesitant to jump on board as those regulations get kind of figured out. So we're going to start seeing more and more adoption as things like remote ID, which is like a digital license plate. And this just came out this year, and that's going to be out in the next couple of years. And I think that's going to be a big enabler to grow this industry, because people will be able to tell what people are doing in the skies. The other big thing, and it's something I'll probably bring up multiple times because I think it's really important, is really public acceptance, is letting people know what this technology is doing and how it can impact their lives, and getting the public on board and asking for that kind of technology.
Yeah, I see that when I tell people, just in the general public, it's just like, I'm running the drone club down at Taft High School, and it's just like, oh, you mean you're flying down somebody's street and you're peeking in their windows? And it's just like that old preconception of what drones are, and it's just like, it's not that. It's not that at all.
Absolutely. It's a tool. And that's really how we can grow this industry, is to start looking at it as a tool and letting the public know it's a tool that can do some really cool stuff. And if you talk to if you bring that public outreach as part of whatever you're doing in the corporation, you see a lot of people just tend to be interested rather than scared.
I think things work a little bit different here because we don't have so much the issues with the public, the general public. I think Brazil is not a country that happened some things in the past, like acts of terrorism, or it could be a concern here, and that's why people just don't care a lot about a drone flying over their heads. Uh, what's more, the big challenge here is to convince the companies that they are making an investment and not just wasting their money. So I can see that you have two challenges there in the US, that's to convince people also, and it's hard. Um, and we are in a little advantage here because I think this step will be a little bit easier to us.
That's really interesting. The cultural differences and how we kind of think about drones, and that's really why some areas of the globe are embracing drone technology a lot more than others. And I'd like to add to that idea of building on, convincing corporations that this is worthwhile. Some of the other things is kind of, managing expectations. Like, you're going to put a lot of money up front into developing that drone technology and training those pilots and things like that. So you have to be kind of open about what that cost is, right? And say, these are the numbers down the line. This is what it's going to do for your business long term, but don't expect, you kind of have to say it's going to be a couple years, or depending on what you're doing.
Yeah. So maybe Leo and Raquel, could you guys just maybe touch on like some of the rules, the regulations that you two face, say in South America, in the Brazil area? I mean, Danielle and I know what we have to deal with, and Meghan, we all know what we have to deal with in the US. Could you maybe talk about Brazil a little bit, just to get a different perspective from across the world, basically?
Yeah. The regulation in US was previous to Brazil, I think 1.5 years or 2 years about. But our company was already running before the regulation, so it was really hard to us because nobody wanted to trust drones or to try it. It was just a kind of mystery here, and we had to deal with it. But many companies were using to common aerial imagery at that time, and it was the way we got. We started training these people, and it was a good exit for that problem, but it's still our main business today. But talking about the regulation, it's very similar. The big difference is that we don't have a test, we don't have a certification. Um, you're free to fly, depending on what you're gonna do. You have to be conscious that you have the responsibility to understand what you're doing, and if you do something wrong, you're gonna pay for that. So when you're going to fly, you should go to a kind of system and inform it and notice that you're going to fly in a place, and there is a radius that you're going to use and a kind of height. And and that's it. Almost this. It's very simple and it's very quick. But I think we should improve it, because some of our applications is still stopped and paralyzed because we don't have rules exact for that. For example, flying below, flying above 120 meters here, or 400 feet is not allowed at all. And we just don't know how to do that, because they say you're not allowed, and that's it. So, okay, but if I want to make a drone delivery, for example, how can I manage? And they say, okay, come to talk to us. It's like you go to a dark room and we have a conversation, but we would like to have it written. We'd like to understand, to use lawyers, but we can't. So they base our regulation in the American and Australian one, but there are spots that we don't understand yet.
Okay.
Well, thank you. We've had a couple questions in the chat. One of them mainly for the women here, I think. So Silita, I think that's how you say the name. I'm sorry. As a woman, how did you get into a drone career? And then also more specifically, what can I do with drones as a career?
Awesome question. Meghan, why don't you take that one first?
Okay, so primarily I am a teacher, just a public school teacher. So about 5 years ago, I was introduced to drones. A good friend of mine asked if he could come to my classroom and show my students, these drones. At that point, I had no idea what they were. So it was kind of like by happenstance, I guess you could say, that I was introduced to those things. And then I'm very fortunate with my curriculum that I can build things, because as you're probably aware, for a lot of the panelists here, there is very little curriculum as far as elementary drones go. So I was able to write and create activities for my classroom. So that's kind of how I got involved into drones. And I also saw that my students loved them. Now I don't use, a lot of the expensive drones. We use the DJI Tello drones, and a lot of my stuff is very elementary. But of course, I'm doing this with 7, 8, 9-year-olds. So we do a lot of the same things, but just at a cheaper, lower scale. Like if we're doing like simulating drone racing league, we have things like hula hoops the kids go through. So just trying to make it as fun as possible, but the kids are also learning a lot of great things with it. My students, like I make them have a whole portfolio, and they're learning all the same things that I had to learn to get my FAA Part 107 certification. So that's kind of how I got into drones.
I can jump in next. I got into drones through the humanities. I started as an editor, and I ended up writing about technology. And then I ended up joining Commercial UAV News to write about that technology. And it's a really cool job, because I love technology, but I just didn't go that route, mostly because I was a girl. And when I was growing up, it was a little bit different, and I think it's getting better today. I hope it's getting better for you girls out there. But it was challenging to really think about myself in technology. That was a boys' thing, and that was kind of understood in a way that hopefully it's not understood today. But I got into it through writing and through the humanities, and I get to interview a bunch of many different people in the industry and learn about what's going on in this really new industry. And, to answer that second part of the question, which I think is really an exciting thing, because it's still so new. It's maybe 5 or 6 years really old. So we're still defining what the industry is going to look like. So we have some of these new applications that are really taking off. If you're looking for something that's established, survey and mapping, construction, oil and gas, clean energy, asset management, monitoring, public safety, and emergency response, and infrastructure are all really great places where drone technology is taking off. And we're starting to, sorry, the pun. I always say that and I never realize it's a pun until I say it. And so these are some really great things. And then we're starting to slowly see drone delivery, which is, you know, what everyone thinks about. Everyone wants their burrito delivered to their homes or to be able to make that call. But really this industry is still so new that you are going to be defining it. And that's really exciting. And there's some things that if you're engineers or if you're in your technology and you like to work with your hands and develop things, I mean, the big thing that we're looking at today is powering your drone to get longer flight times, to make things lighter, cheaper, more cost effective. So think about ways that you can think about it in that way too. So not just flying the drone, but actually creating technologies for that drone to get you moving forward.
Okay, Raquel.
Yeah. Well, I worked before as a programmer and system analyst. So when I started the company, I was used to work in male-dominated industries. And so I find it not too difficult. I think I was comfortable when the situation. I think that the main challenge now is people didn't expect to get drone information from a woman. They think they're surprised. They think it's strange. And I think when we women, we talk about some technical information, they need to be used to know that we can do it. We can do it very well, and we can do it too. So I think it's better now. I noticed that it's really better now.
Awesome. What else we got, Gemma?
Here, okay. So again, a little bit on the track of college and deciding to go into drones. What kind of major do you suggest I enter in order to get more into the drone industry, but also to learn more about it?
Anybody want to take that one?
I will say, I mean, I don't know a whole bunch about as far as the college level, but I do know I live in a pretty small town, so it's less than 50,000 people, and our community college has started a 2-year drone like associate's degree. Again, I don't know exactly what that entails, but a lot of community colleges or higher level universities and things like that, they are starting to develop things like that. So Danielle, you had your hand up. You probably know more about that than me.
Yeah, and that's just by luck because I got to talk to a lot of people in the industry and ask that question. So when we look at drones, we look at them as a tool, right? So they're going into different industries. So as you learn about drones and you get your Part 107 license, and you can bring that into any major industry if you think that there's a reason for it and there's a really good use case. But if you're looking at college and you want to really dive into drones, I would say you'd want to look at either software engineering, regular engineering, and that kind of deep dive into developing that kind of technology.
Yeah, I can tell you personally, locally around the Cincinnati, Southwest Ohio area, UC has a program. I think it's within their engineering college. Some of the local community colleges, I know they have drone programs, certificate programs, 2-year associate programs that you can get involved with. And if you want to take the college route, there's plenty around. I would say check with your guidance counselors and ask the Inner Alliance, because there is definitely the programs out there if you want to do drones in college.
I will say, like what Danielle was saying earlier, this technology is so new. Like I said,
Yes.
five years ago, I had no idea what a drone was. And now, and like a drone with this big hunking thing that, you know, the battery life is like 5 minutes and stuff like that. And then you look at what we have now, the technology is exploding. So, I mean, who knows what, you know, what's going to be able to, you know, happen but in another 5 years. So like in saying that, if you do want a career in drones, if you're a creative person and, or you see a problem or something like that, there is going to be many opportunities for you to be like to own your own business or to develop your own things. So even though there's not a whole bunch of programs right now for you to enter as far as higher ed, I'm sure that that will be coming. But right now, if you think that you'd want to own your own business or develop things or anything like that has to do with drones, this is a great time to do it.
Yeah.
I
can tell you
see-
they're doing the research up at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, where they're getting the drones beyond your line of sight, way out in the atmosphere, and still be able to control that drone and fly that drone. So I know they're doing that more for military purposes, but they're going to bring that into the corporate end of things, definitely.
I see drones like a complementary tool for many kinds of occupations. So you can match drones with engineering, with photography, or with architecture or military. It depends. So I think the students can join the drone technology with something else that they like. For example, I'm a programmer as well, system analyst, and I can use this skill to make something about drones or the opposite as well. So I think joining the drone technology with other skills is a good opportunity, because even if you know about drones, when you want to make a solution, you need to know the other side also. You need to know the customer side also. For example, we work a lot with engineering, and we have learned a lot. And if we knew everything about engineering before, we would be a step forward from the others. So I think drones can be a very powerful tool to boost other kind of business. So sometimes a person has a dream to be an architect or an engineer, and he can use the drone as a tool, and it will be very good and a big advantage before comparing to others.
Absolutely.
Oh, sorry.
If I can just add to that, there's actually there's this company called Drone Analyst that actually did analysis of how these drone businesses are getting started, and a lot of it is just bringing their drone into the workplace. Kind of, that's how it starts. So that's really how you can bring drones. You can connect it to anything that you love. Excellent point.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have another question. What were the challenges that some of you faced when you first got into drones? So that could be like a team challenge or maybe a personal challenge.
Raquel, why don't you start?
In our case here in Brazil, when we started, it was in 2014. Nobody knows about drones. Even we have a technology background. Even our friends, they didn't know about it. And we need to construct the market here to show people drones not a toy. You can use drone to work. You can use drone to do a lot of good things for the society, for the companies, and we need to start in a big spots and growing the company during growing the information about the knowledge about drones in Brazil. I think it was the most difficult thing, because we could sell something that people don't know what is. Here in Brazil, it happens with some technology, sometimes the technology is growing forward outside Brazil. Sorry? Overseas, yeah. And here, sometimes we need to wait a little to start.
Yeah. Danielle, you want to take an answer at that?
Sure. So some of the challenges, I think they're ongoing for me at least, is to get this positive story out there. I'm coming at it from a journalist perspective. It's really when I first started this, when I first got into this, everyone's just like, "You're gonna write about drones? Those are those creepy things, like what Leo talked about. I want to shoot them out of the sky," and I'm like, "Don't do that. That's illegal." But but it's really changing that public perception, and a lot of that has to do with the people who are sitting in today's attendees. You guys have a lot you can offer. Talk about technology, not just drones, but all technology, and talk about it with your friends, your family, and let them understand what it can do, because I think that is the biggest challenge that we face, is really getting people to understand what this technology is.
Yeah. We talked about it being another tool. Well, that's our PC, that's our smartphones. Now we have one more tool in the toolbox now.
Exactly.
And this is such an emerging technology. I like to use that word whenever I talk to my corporate partners. It's just like, oh, well, they don't understand this. It's so new. And a lot of corporations, a lot of businesses don't understand it. And I just love when I read stories from Danielle's, postings every week that, someone's using a drone to, cut their costs, save money, and reduce the human risk that's out there. We have these big wind turbine farms up in Northeast Ohio. And you drive up I-75 and you see them for miles off the highway. And wow, you can just spend your whole day just doing inspections of these wind turbines that are up there. So that's what I'm trying to show my students. The jobs are out there. Trying to convince, the stakeholders that you can get the job done, what you need to do with a drone.
Hey, thank you for that. Sorry if you were gonna say something.
No.
But we have a question, I think, mainly for Meghan. So for teachers just starting with drones, what would you recommend? 1, for the best value for a classroom drone, 2, a state-friendly curriculum, and 3, the about number of students per drone.
Okay, so I will say, and I was actually thinking about this a second ago, but one of the hardest things for me as a teacher, for all of you kids out there, we get like $0. Okay, so high school teachers get more money if you're in some tech programs, it seems like. But as far, not that much, but they do get some. But as far as from my personal experience, an elementary teacher, I get like $200 a year for 50 students. That's not going to buy drones. So if you're writing grants, that's probably the best way to do it as far as in elementary school. But as far as best value, I would personally suggest the DJI. Oh, my mind just went blank now.
Tello,
thank you. The DJI Tello EDU drones, they're extremely durable. They're really safe. You can, and they're easy to use. You have an iPad, you have a smartphone, anything like that. You connect it Wi-Fi. The battery's like this big. It takes 10 minutes to maybe charge the battery. You can, I don't know how many times I have, like, my kids have like ran them into walls. So and they're pretty inexpensive, and you can also code with them too, which is great. So that would be a great value. And I think they're like $120. So that's something, great to use. And then what was the second question?
It was about a state acceptable kind of curriculum.
That's to be determined right now. So drones
Yeah.
are so integrating drones in the classroom is so new. As far as I'm concerned, there is very little to nothing at the elementary level. So I've had to create everything that I've done. Now there is more in the middle school and high school level. So Matt, I don't know if you have your own drone curriculum that you've purchased or you've written yourself, but there is a little bit more that I know of as far as high school stuff goes. So and if you're working with younger kids, there's not a whole lot there. So that for those of you kids out there, you're thinking about, well, what could I do with drones? There you go. If you like teaching, you can create your own drone curriculum because it's not out there and it's needed right now.
Yeah.
And then what was the last question? Matt, did you want to say something?
So what I have, I've applied to the Ohio Department of Education, and so any student, so of course you have to be 16 years old and older to get your drone license. Once you get your drone license, you would then have 6 points towards graduation in the state of Ohio. So it basically qualifies you as an industry credential. So just getting your 107, getting your drone license, you then have 6 points toward your graduation in the state of Ohio. The problem is I can't get ODE to see that pass any other pathway because they put drone licensing in the transportation pathway. And I can't get them to, apply that to agriculture or to engineering or even to technology. And so that's my battle right now. I've already applied twice. I've been turned down twice on my applications. So I don't have anything else to go with the transportation pathway because they need 12 points for industry credential graduation. They can get 6 with their drone license. And there's nothing else to complement the rest of the pathway. So that's my dilemma right now. I'm working on it.
Yeah, like I said, everything is so new right now.
Yeah.
And this is another thing like I'm doing on the side. I'm working with a company who wants to employ me to write elementary drone curriculum because it's not out there. So, my primarily job, I am a full-time elementary teacher. And I always want to stay in the classroom. But, a minute ago, we were talking about like, what kind of jobs can you do with drones? Even if you don't want to do that as your full-time job, you can get your drone license and do things on the side. Like you can work for an insurance company. And instead of somebody actually climbing onto a roof to inspect the roof after damage, a storm or anything like that, you can go take your drone, 5 minutes, take it out there, take video, submit it online, and you get paid by the company. So even if you don't decide to just go like full head in with drones, I would highly suggest that you look into doing stuff like that. But as far as in the United States, you do have to have your Part 107 to do anything like that commercially. Me being a teacher, I don't necessarily have to have it, but I want to have it for my own. I guess just my own, like I just want to have it. So if I want to do something on the side, I could. And then what was the last question?
The last one was a recommended ratio of students to drone in the classroom.
So in the classroom, I wouldn't do any more than 4, max 5. So you can do the tello drones. You can put the kids in teams. You always have the one kid that's always like, I'm going to fly, like I'm the best flyer ever. You've got that one kid who, always wants to do stuff like that. You also have to remember that everyone is an integral part of the team. So if I were you, and if you're doing it in the classroom, regardless of what level, 4 or 5 kids, 4 is probably ideal. 3 is probably even better. but you have the pilot, you have the pilot in command, you have the visual observer. So you could have the person who is watching for obstructions and obstacles and things like that. And you can also have somebody else who's like the safety specialist. You could have the other person who's timing things. Like if you're doing a precision and accuracy challenge, and the challenge is you got to do this, 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 and this, and you have to do it in a certain amount of time, you can have the person who does that, the recorder. So I wouldn't do any more than 5, but it works pretty well as long as you give all the kids a job. And even if you have too many kids in there, if you have enough devices, let all of them record stuff, because it doesn't matter. They could just be sitting there on their butts, but if you give them an iPad, they're going to be recording everything and being engaged with it.
Okay, thank you so much. I think we, like just now and a little bit before, we touched a bit on the certification process. Someone asked, is there the specific certification process for the drone vehicle as well as the pilot?
Danielle, why don't you start with that?
Can you repeat that question again? It kind of cut out on my ends. I think my internet
Sorry.
went out. No, that's okay.
Is there a certification process for the drone vehicle as well as the pilot?
There is. That's actually a thing that the FAA is working on right now. It's called type certification. So those drones that are out there, what this is going to do for the industry is that if you get a type certification for this type of drone, and this is specifically being done right now for those bigger drones, those ones you get to fly in, that get to do cargo and all that really exciting stuff. But that's probably going to come down through the line with other drones to try to help make them safer in the industry. In terms of getting certification for the pilot, there is the Part 107, which is kind of like that baseline, but that is just a paper test, just to give you an idea of what that is. So we really advocate in the industry for proficiency, and so there are a lot of companies out there that are trying to give that level of proficiency and the ability to fly that drone, understand the national airspace, to have that kind of aviation background, but there isn't some kind of industry standard that's across the board where everyone has to hit this certification. There are a number of companies out there that do provide that kind of level. A couple that come into mind are companies like DroneUp, Sundance Media Group, and the Pilot Institute is fantastic, and it's an online. And Aerodyne is another company that's really working to increase that certification. But in terms of like that high, federal or state level, it's not quite there yet, but we hope to see that as well, because I think that's going to move the industry forward as well.
Right. Leo, Raquel, do you guys have anything in Brazil, South America, where you have a set of standards or certification? Go ahead and speak to that.
Yes, up to 25 kilograms, you don't need a certification for the drone. About the pilot, as I said, there isn't a formal test. You just have to be responsible for what kind of flight you're doing, and to inform our FAA, that's called DSER. But if you want to fly above 400 feet, you need to certificate the vehicle, the aerial vehicle also. And it's a long process. Some companies that are trying to make delivery with drones here now are through a long process and very expensive. And they have to take their projects and the drones to our agency that's called ANAC, the civil agents here that regulates the civil aviation. And they will make many tests and they will ask for many documents. So it's a very long process. And if you want to fly, if you want to map big areas, you also have to talk to the defense ministry that you have to acquire a kind of license. So because in the past, only for airplanes to do this kind of business, and it was something very connected to military. And people who were military and were retired just opened some companies to do this kind of job, and they took everything, and now it's becoming it's a kind of democracy what the drones are doing, because to map a big area in Brazil now, it can be done for anybody who has this license to operate this way. But yeah, so to resume everything, for aerial vehicles, depends of the case, but most like 90% you don't need a certification. And for pilots, we don't have any kind of this.
All right,
Thank you.
that's Gemma. Let's try to get through as many of the questions there. I don't know how many you got left. So
Yeah, we have some left. Okay. So quickly, as drones become more and more prominent in the corporate world, how do you think we can prevent the misuse of drones? Can someone take that?
let's start with Raquel this time.
I think we need to inform that what can happen with someone that use drone in a bad situation, a bad area. Yeah, in a bad way. And we here in Futuriste, our company, we are very tough with this kind of thing. We are very responsible about the law, and to inform our students what they can do and what they can't, and what can be the consequence about it. So we really need to inform people that they need to be very yeah, about it.
Danielle.
I think this is a tricky question. I mean, I think there's always going to be some bad actors out there. The FAA calls them the clueless, the careless, and the criminal.
I like that.
Yeah. Some people don't know what they don't know. And some people don't care. They're going to do it anyway. And then you have the criminal who's going to try to do what they're going to do. But I think with things like remote ID, that digital license plate I brought up earlier, that's coming out, we're going to start having these drones having to broadcast, and they're going to have to be made to broadcast. So unless you get really savvy and you break that broadcast, which would also alert authorities as to this person's not following the rules, any drone that's out there that isn't broadcasting is already in violation. So remote IDs is a good way to start sifting through those bad actors or those people that we need to be paying attention to. I think it's also a good way for people to be able to track and understand what somebody's doing, where they're going, and what and the reason why they're in the airspace, which can help with that public perception. It could also help people who don't like drones find us faster, which is a big concern with pilots today. But I think in the long term, this kind of technology is going to help. The other side of that coin is there's a whole other industry called counter drone, and those types of industries are mostly doing detection because you can't really shoot anything out of the sky. Anything that's flying is covered by the FAA, and that's against the law. But they do in most cases. Any one of us couldn't shoot anything out of the sky, so let's just say it's against the law. So detection helps us find and deal with those bad actors, which makes it harder for them to get away with certain things.
What else, Gemma?
Thank you. So I think one more thing. I think Danielle mentioned quickly before about engineers developing things for longer flights and decreasing the load and everything. So someone asked, what are people currently using to power drones for longer flights, and what concepts are being explored to increase this? So if you know.
Solar batteries, solar panels.
That is one of the very cool applications. Solar. There's this thing called an infinite flight, but these are very large drones that have to be able to, because solar panels are very heavy, and so it becomes a weight to power ratio issue.
Right.
And there's also hybrid. We're using there's this company in Korea called Doosan who that is actually using a hybrid model where they're using hydrogen, which is
Oh yeah, I did see
really
that.
exciting. And there are also hybrid models that are using other types of heavy fuels, but heavy fuels are still in there, and that kind of defeats the purpose, right? We want to look at drones to help with the environment. So this is something that we really want to challenge people to start thinking about. How can we make batteries more effective, more efficient, and not have that kind of emissions that we were trying to avoid with traditional aircraft like helicopters.
So real quick, Danielle, I've talked to the Cincinnati Fire Department. They have a couple of drones where they actually tether the drones up. And only go maybe 50 feet or so up in the air, but everything runs through the tether.
Right.
Your
Yep.
video, your power, everything you need, because you don't know how long you're going to be up on a site. Putting out that fire, seeking the hot spots, looking for human life. Who knows what goes on at a fire site. So I thought that was pretty cool when it's just like you have that. Now you got to deal with a tethering option with your vehicle, and it's just something else to deal with now. So
It is, but it's really helping people who are working in a very limited location. But
yeah,
um, there are some people who are working on a tethered drone solution that is powered until they find where they need to go, and then they can cut the tether and
ooh,
go. And
yeah.
that is the next step, I think, with tethered. Sorry, I think Leo has.
Yeah. What I've seen, it's the standard batteries today use lithium polymer as the structure to keep the energy. So what I've been seeing is they're trying to change this lithium polymer for gold or graphene, and they are getting really amazing results. So at the past, when we started, the drone used to fly about 15 or 18 minutes at most.
Right.
So it was really hard to manage the objective. And now here you can find drones like they can fly for, as Danielle said, with hydrogen, a mix, and they can fly for about 3 hours. Or, for example, the new VTOL architecture, where you mix multi-rotors with fixed wings. And for agriculture, for example, it's really, really good. And you have a very high level results. So if we think we started 6 years ago and the technology has changed so much, you can imagine what's coming for the next 5 years, isn't it, Danielle? And
Yep.
I'm very hopeful that it will be really good and safe what we get in field time, really in field time.
I agree. There are a lot of really great solutions out there, and I think we're getting there. And people on this panel might be the ones to tap into that solution.
I'm hoping my students tap into that kind of solution. So
A lot of money in that. Let's just say the person who gets the battery to go for several
yeah,
hours, that is a
Sure.
career builder.
Yeah.
Yeah, as we said, that there is not only the drone itself, but the other many things that are complementary to drones. So, for example, batteries, propellers, or the structure of the frame. So there are many things to work on it, many opportunities.
And something we haven't really talked about, but is a big enabler, is autonomy in artificial intelligence and machine
Yes.
learning, which is a huge part of this industry that is going to enable the industry to really grow. Going back to that first question.
Gemma, is this our 2-minute warning? We got
Yeah,
about 2 minutes left.
yeah. I think
How many
some of
questions
the
we got left?
okay. We could quickly go around, and there's one question saying, "What gave you inspiration to get into drones?" So maybe each person could really quickly say something.
Sure. I think it's just how new it is, the innovation that's happening. It's never a dull moment in this industry, and I
No.
love it.
That's what I love about it. It's an emerging technology, ever changing, weekly, daily. It's what keeps me young. So, Raquel,
Yeah, for me it's the same. The innovation, it's a very interesting product. We use it to listen. Oh, you do you work with drones? That's so amazing. It's something that really it's really interesting, and I love it.
Leo, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I agree with them. It's with you, Matt, it keeps me young still, and the opportunities when you're starting a new technology, and if you're studying it really hardly, I think you're a step forward to other people, and uh, for us in Brazil, I think the competition is not so hard like for you. So the opportunities are bigger because I think the market is too soft. So it's nice, really nice. Drones have a long path to the in the future. So it's great.
Megan?
I keep doing drones because I like doing it because I am a female and I like to represent girl power. So this is a very male-dominated field. And, this is something that females can do just as well as men. So if we have any ladies out there, you got this if you want to do it.
Okay, thank you so much, all of you panelists. I think we can all definitely see how passionate all of you are about this subject, and really, it's such an advancing field. Very, very interesting. Yeah, so thank you especially to all the participants for coming and listening. I think it was very, very fun dialogue that we all had, and so we're about out of time. But yeah, thank you again. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, everybody,
Thank
for
you.
coming today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Here.